What's up, vinyl community? It's your boy Ryan back with another video, and so today I'm doing the vinyl quarantine challenge. Is that what it's called? Quarantine vinyl tag challenge, I guess is what it's called technically. I know I'm a bit late to the party with this one, but something about me is just I'm a late person in general when it comes to everything. You can ask my boss. I'm very good at showing up to things late, but anyways, I've got the questions right in front of me for this tag, so let's just jump into it. Okay, so the first record we have to show is your favorite record from your home state or city. That's easy for me. It's the legend Buddy Holly. I got his self-titled record from '58, and this is actually the original press. As you can tell, the cover is very beat up, and the record, it's worn, but I've also got a copy of this from the '80s, and this version of the record honestly sounds way better. Like the drums on Peggy Sue, they just sound so amazing, like you're listening to it in a cave or something. It just is great in my opinion. Alright, number 2, an album that you highly recommend. Now this album I have to recommend is Angel Olsen's My Woman from 2016. Now, I had a hard time deciding between this one and her recent record from last year, 2019's All Mirrors. I think that one is an amazing, amazing album. It's just so good, but I think I preferred this album just a little bit more over All Mirrors. This one just has some great rockin' songs like Never Be Mine, Shut Up Kiss Me, which is a song that if you play guitar, you need to learn how to play Shut Up Kiss Me on guitar. It's just such a jamming song. 4 chords is all you need to make a great song. But it's also got, this album also has songs like Not Gonna Kill You, Heart-Shaped Face, Sister, Woman, and you've also just got some chill tracks on here like Intern and Pops, the final track on here. Great record. I cannot recommend this album enough. I cannot give it enough praise as well. Alright, question number 3, a tip for beginners. Now this, I'm sure, is obvious to everyone, including beginners, but make sure to check your used records whenever you're looking at them in the store. Like I said, I know that's obvious, but I've made a few, or I've actually done this multiple times to where I get kind of cocky. I'm just like, I'm sure the record, it'll be fine. Why would a record store sell some with a defect in it, which don't think that way. Record stores sell defective records, if that's a word, a lot. And I especially learned that the hard way about a year and a half ago when I bought this copy of the Times, What Time Is It? And I didn't check it first. And I'm not sure how much this comes off on camera, but it is warped horribly to the point where like the needle almost like rides it like a surf wave, and it just makes side 1, track 1, Wild and Loose unplayable, and the majority of side 2, track 1, The Walk unplayable, and that especially upsets me because Wild and Loose is my favorite song on the album, so the fact that it's completely unplayable because of the warp just angered me. And I did manage to get a nicer copy of this record, and I actually even got it cheaper than this copy of it, I believe, which is kind of ironic, but yeah, make sure to always check the records because you don't want to get a shitty, unplayable, warped copy like I did a couple years back. Now, question 4 is the first record that got you that got you deeper into music. This is the record I credit with getting me into music, the Beatles One. This is an album I've known about my whole life. My mom had the original CD. I have it now. It's actually over there with my stuff, and I grew up loving the song Yellow Submarine. I would always ask my mom to put on the CD, and I just listened to it over and over and over again. But eventually back in like 2013, I started to discover the Beatles like had a bunch of other songs. I know, crazy thought, right? And I listened to so many of these songs, like, because for the longest time this was the only album that I had of the Beatles to listen to, despite considering them my favorite band. And I just listened to this album so many times. Like all these songs hold a special place in my heart, even though A lot of them aren't my favorite Beatles tracks. They just, because they're on this album, they hold a special place in my heart to me. And I just love this album, and I credit it with being the reason that I decided to start diving into artists' discographies rather than just kind of listening to the hits that my parents had on iTunes. And now, question number 5, an obscure record that people may not know about. Now this, I don't have any records, I don't think, where it's like they're so obscured where it's like only, like 10 or 100 copies were made. I don't have any of those, but I do have some that I think not as many people know. I mean, this artist has her most listened to song on Spotify, I think has 4 million listens, which is a lot, but I don't think I've seen any videos of her or videos featuring her records. And this is Hatchie, an Australian singer-songwriter. This is her debut album from last year called Keepsake, and I generally love this album. My main complaint with it is that side 1 is a lot better than side 2, but I mean side 2 still has some great songs on it, but this record has great songs like Without a Blush, Her Own Heart, Obsessed, Secret. I love this album, or love is a bit of an overstatement. It's a great record, and if you're looking for kind of a recent dream pop alternative type sounding record, this is an album that's right up your alley. Next up, we got a group who you want to collect all their albums or try to. Now this is a group / solo artist. We've got Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers / Tom Petty solo. And now I've got a lot of Tom Petty stuff. I've got, of course, all 3 of his 70s albums. I've got every 80s record except for Let Me Up, I've had enough. But then towards the 90s and up to recently, I don't have as many records of his. I especially really want to get 1994's Wildflowers, but as every Tom Petty fan knows, it was only ever recently reissued in the box set, and you can't buy it separately, despite you can get every single other Tom Petty record separately except for Wildflowers, which makes it a pain in the butt because you have to pay hundreds of bucks for it, whether you want to get the original 90s pressing or the box set. It's just so annoying. But there's some other Tom Petty albums like She's the One soundtrack that I'd like to get, I just never see, and I'm also not dying to get, because with the exception of Wildflowers, I have all of my favorite Tom Petty records. And so as much as I would love to get a complete collection of his, I'm also not going to go out and buy them all at once. I'm just kind of getting them whenever I see a nice copy. And now, the next question is a band whose second album is better than their first, and I'm going to have to go with Queen with their second record, Queen 2. I much prefer this album over the debut, Queen 1. I kind of find that the Queen self-titled record is kind of okay. There's a few songs I really like, but then a lot of it, to me, is just kind of boring. This is the album where Queen really became Queen. It's got so many great songs like The Loser in the End, Father and Son, Ogre Battle, The March of the Black Queen, 7 Seas of Rye. And this one's definitely an underdog fan favorite, and if you don't have this in your collection, you really need to, especially if you're a Queen fan. It's an iconic album cover. A lot of us know it from the Bohemian Rhapsody video, but it's also just a great album in general that I think everyone should have in their collection. Alright, and so now the next one is to show a whack-a-mole record, which is a random pick. I forgot which YouTuber was the one that coined the term whack-a-mole. But yeah, I just have to find a random record in my collection. Now, unfortunately, I don't have one of the cool setups like a lot of fellow VC YouTubers do, where you have a whole wall of shelf space of your records. What I have for mine is over there, that little thing over, or it's not little, the shelf space that has half of my collection. And over here in my closet, I keep the other half, because I've got so many albums and not enough space for all of them in that shelving unit. So I'm just going to grab a random record from the closet because, it means I don't have to walk as far. So let's walk on over to the closet. Here's I'm blocking a couple of the boxes, but I'm gonna look away as well. Born in the USA by the boss, Bruce Springsteen. A great album. Oh, I wouldn't say it's one of my favorites of his, but it still is another classic. Got so many of his big hits that we all know and love. Another record worthy of a spot in your collection. Okay, what's the next one? Alright, next question is, what album would you say you've listened to the most in your life? Now, personally, I would have to say the album I've listened to the most would be the Beatles one, but of course, I already did that, so I'm gonna go with another album I've heard a ton in my life, and that is The Police's Outlandos de Amor, if that's how it's pronounced. I've known about this album since I think like maybe 2015, 16 is when I first heard it, and it was already one of my favorite Police albums. This one, titled Synchronicity, are my favorite Police records, but especially a couple years back, I just got into this record and I just listened to it a ton. Now, at the time, I was definitely not in the best space emotionally, and so some of the songs on here, like Whole of My Life and Peanuts, definitely kind of maybe hit a little close to home with me, so that was kind of why I listened to it. But even today, I still listen to it a lot because it's a great post-punk new wave record, and it's also another album that has just songs that are really fun to play on guitar, like Next to You, So Lonely, Peanuts, Roxanne. It's just a great kick-ass album, and I love it. Let's see. The next one is show an album with a crazy story in your collection. Now, I don't have any crazy YouTube storytime gone sexual stories with any of my records. I do have one that I kind of thought was an interesting and somewhat maybe funny one, at least for me, and that is the story behind when I got Jailbreak by Thin Lizzy. Now, I love The Boys Are Back in Town. It's a classic rock song. How can you not love it? And how can it not make you want to air guitar? I mean, just a great song. And I've been kind of thinking of getting this record at the time. I just wasn't sure, and then I ran into it at one of my record stores, and I was like, maybe I'll get it. I don't know, because I love The Boys Are Back in Town, but was I willing to pay like $12 for that song? Because what if the rest of the album is a dud? And I wasn't sure, so I'll think about it. And then right as I was like, I'm gonna think about it, The Boys Are Back in Town came over the radio at the record store, and I was like, that's got to be a sign that I've got to get this record. So I just picked it up, and luckily I really enjoyed it. It's got some other good songs, like the title track and Cowboy Song. But yeah, every time I listen to this record, I think of how whenever I wasn't sure if I should get it, that song came over, The Boys Are Back in Town came over the radio, and I was like, I gotta get it. That's too good of a coincidence. Okay, the next question is, you're collecting pet peeves. Now, my biggest pet peeve is whenever you see a jacket with the writing on the cover, like this one right here, they wrote their name in marker, and that especially makes me mad because it ruins the album cover. There's not any more writing on it, but look at how prominent it is. Whenever you look at this, you can't help but notice that the person wrote their name in marker, and it's annoying, and it gets away in the album cover or in the way of the album art. Now, I know a lot of people back in the 70s and 80s would write their names on album covers. It was kind of the norm at the time, but it's still just really annoying in my opinion. And I've got a ton of records that were from my uncle. He's been generous enough to let me take any albums I see in his collection to have as my own, and at least he writes his name on a bunch of them, but at least he does it in pen, so it's not as noticeable as this one where it's in marker. And I've got another album like this that was also from the same person, written in marker, and it's just a big pet peeve of mine. And if I can find a better copy in better condition without writing, I usually try to go with that, because I don't mind spending a couple extra bucks to have a copy of the record without any writing in the way. Alright, the next thing is an album or genre people would be surprised to know that you like. Now, I personally don't have any guilty pleasure music. Anything I like, I will proudly say if I like it, no question about it. But there are some things. I have a feeling that people may be a little surprised who know me, because like I'm a big rock guy. You know, I'm wearing a Boston shirt right now. The majority, I'd say about like maybe 60% of all I listen to is just rock on its own, or maybe 50. That might be a better statement, but my point is I listen to mostly rock music, and so I have some records that aren't rock. They're very poppy, and when you think of a person who mainly listens to rock, you wouldn't, I guess, put these records with them, but I chose two because they're by the same artist. Wham! Their first record, Fantastic, and Make It Big. I'm not sure how many people look at rock fans and are like, man, I bet they listen to Wham. But yeah, I am a big Wham fan. Like, this debut album, I definitely don't enjoy it as much as I did whenever I first got it, but there's still some jamming songs on here like Bad Boys, the cheesy Wham rap, Young Guns Go For It. I mean, this is just stupid pop, but god dang, do I enjoy it a lot. And then this one's a bit more of their well-known album. It's got the big hits, Wake Me Up Before You Go Go, Everything She Wants, Freedom, and Careless Whisper. And those are all great songs in my opinion. I especially love Everything She Wants. So my favorite song on this album is Heartbeat. I just vibe so hard to that song. I love it. And yeah, I'm a big Wham fan, and I'm proud to display it. Okay, what's the next thing? A record from the year you were born. Now, I do not have any records from the year that I was born. In fact, it hasn't been to like the past couple of years I've actually been trying to get records from even the 2000s. I'm that big of a hipster, as you might say, at least as what my sister would call me. The majority of my records are just from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, so I don't have anything, especially from the early 2000s. I actually went through my collection recently, and I think I only found like 2 or 3 records from the early 2000s, so I don't have any from 2002, but I will name an album that I do enjoy from 2002, and that is One Night Alone by Prince. It's definitely not one of my favorites from him, but it still is a really good album, nice relaxing album, and I enjoy it despite not having any physical copies of it, sadly. On to the next one, we got show a 10-inch record and or share your opinions on 10-inch records. Now, I don't have any 10-inch records as well either, because, I mean, there's nothing really that I want. I mean, if I would ever, like, find a Buddy Holly or Elvis, like, early rock and roll 10-inch, then maybe I would consider getting one, but, I mean, none of them interest me, really. I mean, they're cool, I guess, but all my records are 12-inch and 7-inch, and that's all I'm really care to get, and that's all I'm happy to get. So I don't have any 10 inches, and I don't really care to get any at the moment. But on to the next one, we got share an interesting fact about an album or a song. Now, this record right here is Dan Hartman's Instant Replay. Now, if you're a big disco fan, you may know this song, Instant Replay, from this album. It's a big disco hit, but it's definitely not as well known as, say, like the Bee Gees or Casey and the Sunshine Band. This Instant Replay has been kind of a forgotten disco song. In fact, if you know Dan Hartman, it's probably for his 1984 hit, I Can Dream About You, which fantastic song from a fantastic album, but that's another video for another day. Right now we're talking about Dan Hartman's Instant Replay. Now, what is an interesting fact about this record? You see this dude right here in the middle with the mustache and the bangs behind Dan and Blanche Napoleon? Well, this dude's name right here is Vincent or Vinny Cusano. Now, if that's not a name that rings a bell with you, I don't blame you, but however, this dude would later go on to become Vinnie Vincent from the band Kiss. He would play on their albums Creature of the Night and Look It Up, and this album came out before, this was 78, I believe, and those were the early 80s, and so before he went on to becoming Kiss, he played on a disco record with Dan Hartman, which I've always thought to be strange, that this dude's going from disco to glam metal and heavy metal with Creatures of the Night. That's an odd combination, but something I always found fascinating about Vinnie Vincent, that he went from disco to metal, pretty much. Okay, on to the next one. We got Show an Album with an Animal on the cover. Got my favorite Paul McCartney album, Ram. And on the back, you got uh, a picture of two Beatles screwing. Those aren't animals, just a fun fact. And then you also got Ram, looks like in here as well. Alright, the next one is Show an Album with crazy artwork. Now I've actually got two for this one. And the first one is Susie and the Banshees, The Scream. Now, I find it crazy. It's just I can't tell what's going on because like the picture is really out of focus. I mean, there's a dude right here, but is this like a leg down here at the bottom? I really can't tell what's going on with this. And then on the back, I mean, it's clearly a leg down here, but I mean, this is strange to me. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'm just stupid, which probably am, but anyways. And then the other album with a crazy artwork is Peter Gabriel's fourth record, also known as Security. I mean, do I need to explain why this is crazy? What is this? I don't know why they named it this album Security in the US, because this does not make me feel secure. This is creepy in a way. It's just weird. Then on the back you got, I don't know. If you know what this is, please explain. Okay, and now for the next, number 18, we got Show a Really Good Album that you can find for cheap. And what I chose is A Flock of Seagulls' debut album. Now, of course, everyone knows A Flock of Seagulls for their big hit, I Ran. And maybe you know them for Space Age Love Song, which is one of my favorite songs of all time. It's definitely my top 5 songs at the moment. But they do not need to be written off as a one-hit wonder. This is an amazing album. Like, of course, you got I Ran, the big hit, Space Age Love Song, and it's also got You Can Run, Messages, Telecommunication, Standing in the Doorway. I mean, those are the best songs in the album, but this whole album is just really good. It's a great new wave album from the early 80s, and I've been really meaning to check out the rest of their discography, or at least a couple more albums, because this is a great album. I listen to at least Space Age Love Song quite often, and this is an album that I also don't think it's talked about enough, and you can find it for like dirt cheap. I got it in this condition online for like less than $10. Alright, number 19, we got Show an Album with an Acquired Taste. Now, what I chose for that one is First Issue by Public Image Limited. Now, post-punk is definitely kind of, I feel, an acquired taste. You know, it's not a super popular genre. You don't hear like basic radio stations playing any post-punk song except for maybe Talking Heads, which are a bit more new wave. But you know, you don't hear Public Image Limited, Joy Division, or Susie and the Banshees on mainstream radio. And I kind of feel like maybe Susie and the Banshees and Joy Division are a bit more accessible. I'm not saying they're like pop icons, but they're maybe a bit more digestible compared to Public Image Limited, which features Sex Pistols singer Johnny Rotten, now John Lydon. And this record is just, the first time I heard it, I was like, this is weird. But then the more I listen to it, the more I love it, especially like the final track, Fodder Stomp, is just like 7 minutes of a really good beat, but then you have the band just kind of yelling, "We only wanted to be loved," over and over, and it's strange, but I love it so much. If you're kind of looking for some weird post-punk, you need to get this album in your collection. It's a great record. And now for the final question, or I don't know what you call this. I've been referring to them as questions, and I know they aren't questions, but I'm just kind of going along as I go. I don't know what I'm saying. Just shut up, Ryan. Okay, get on with the final thing. Show your most recent find, and my most recent find is Adventure by Television. I first heard their album Marquee Moon like last October, and I really liked it then, but it hasn't really been until these past couple months that I've really started to understand why people love Marquee Moon. And then I finally got a copy of Adventure, their second album released the next year, and I really like this album a lot. I can't say it's as good as Marquee Moon, but I mean, it's still got some great tracks. It's a bit more, I'd say, kind of softer, mellow rock, beautiful rock in a way, but it's still, I really like it. And the cool thing I really like about the album art, you got red background, red back, red inner sleeve, and finally, hold on just a second, red vinyl, red translucent vinyl, which my favorite color is red, and so even though I prefer my vinyl black, at the same time I'm a sucker for a red record. It just looks beautiful. But yeah, that was my late quarantine vinyl tag. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm really looking forward to making more tag videos like this or challenge videos like the one I posted recently. And I think I may also be doing some videos soon, like ranking albums by my favorite artists, as well as just kind of pulling out random records in my collection, finding common themes maybe for recommendations. I don't know, we'll see what the future or what my videos on this channel hold. But anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Take care, everyone.